Hello everyone, Glenn Greshtick, the King of Home Comfort, back at another one of the video series. This is a kind of simple one actually. It's 'tis the season for air conditioning, at least it will be in the next couple of weeks here. And I get asked all the time, Glenn, I see these ads for $1,800, $2,100, $2,000, whatever, for a brand new central air conditioning system. What's that all about? Well, let's kind of take a look at that. And here's kind of the ads that you see, right? These cheap Charlies here. I think this guy's got one for $18.99. $24.50, a complete ductless system for $19.99, starting at, and that's kind of the key for these. So let's just kind of take a look at that. Let's take a look first of all at air conditioning systems. First of all, there's 5 complete parts to an air conditioning system. Most people think it's just the outside unit. Well, that's actually just the condenser. Basically, all that's designed to do is kind of pump the refrigerant back inside the house. So we'll talk about that, but we'll also talk about the part that's above the furnace that you have inside your home. It looks kind of like a big A coil, hence the term you might hear A coil, but it really is an evaporator coil. It's designed to take the humidity and the excess humidity and moisture out of the home and transfer it outside. And then there's the line sets, which is the copper lines that you'll see. One of them should be covered and one of them goes to the outside unit. There's the electrical and there's the drainage. So there's actually 5 parts. Now the coil itself should sit above your furnace about 6 to 8 inches and on a bit of a slanted shelf. So air will go through the coil and not around it, and so it can also drain out properly. That's what the slants are all for. So it's all designed to work together, of course, with the outside unit, the electrical unit there. But let's kind of look at some of the common problems that I see all the time with air conditioning. Number one, I hear a lot of times, do you have any hot or cold spots? I ask people, and they tell me, no, sometimes we don't, because what we do is we close off the vents into the basement because we don't want any cold air, because doesn't it? Cold air falls, right? So cold air is into the basement area on there. So what you're doing with that, though, is it's kind of like your body has the arteries and the veins. So it pumps it out with the arteries, brings it back into the veins. So you're kind of closing off part of your body, saying you don't want that to work properly today. So it causes fatigue and stress onto a system because it's all based on cubic feet per minute of airflow going through. It's designed to work for your particular home. So if you're closing off areas, it can cause it to overwork and cause more issues than providing extra cooling to the upper levels of your home. Now, another one I see too is a lot of times people will close off returns, those little things you see on the floor, right, or on the side of the walls. They'll close them off, figuring what's the use of those? Put furniture in front of it, do that kind of thing. Well, again, that's just like saying I want the blood to come out, but I don't want it to come back. So that will cause some problems too as well. Lots of times I'll see low airflow. That's an old furnace, because I know I'm talking air conditioning today, but I really should be talking about a system. If it's an old furnace with a very high wattage fan or an old belt-driven fan, it has a hard time generating enough velocity of air to push through that coil and bringing it up to the upper levels of your home, which is usually where you have your bedrooms and you want some proper cooling up there. So if you're not getting a proper airflow on there, it could cause freezing of the coil. If you see excess sweating around the plenum area above the furnace, or you see it kind of freezing on there, that's one of the issues you have there. Probably the most common one, and I should have talked about this first, are clogged filters. Filters restrict, if it's clogged, can restrict the airflow and again cause damage to your heating and cooling system, right? So if it's not a good filter inside there, and be very careful. I know I've talked about certain filters like 3Ms in the past that can restrict the airflow, catch the dirt, but don't allow the air to go through. You want a good filter that will catch the dirt, but allow the air to go through and act as a cycle throughout your whole home. Also, a clogged coil, the evaporator coil can get clogged tight too as well with dog hair, dirt, and dust. It's in a cold, dark, damp place, right? So it creates mold and mildew if it's not protected by something like an ultraviolet light. Also, your secondary heat exchangers. All high-efficiency furnaces have a secondary heat exchanger. Very tight fins. If they get clogged up in that moisture too as well, that's going to cause some issues for you too as well. Poor duct design systems. I've seen it numerous times, especially on newer homes, where the duct design is too small to handle the proper airflow. As I mentioned previously, it's all based on cubic feet per minute of airflow going out the system and coming back into the system. The return should always be a tad larger than the supply system. Now, you can never have too much return. You can have too little, but never too much. You can definitely have too little or too much supply. So again, that's a bit of an issue. Also, leaks in line sets. I've seen horror stories where people are using non-refrigeration grade line sets. I mentioned on a previous video, there's 3 times the pressure. This is no longer the Freon. This is the environmentally friendly refrigerant, but there's 3 times the pressure going through those line sets. So if you're using cheap plumbing copper, it can't handle that pressure. It's going to cause some issues. Also, some people are actually soldering the units. The pressure is built up on these things. They're going to cause some leaks, and you're going to get some air leak loss or refrigerant loss in your line sets, and therefore your system is going to overheat and cause problems and fatigue, and you're going to have to replace it sooner than later and have some very expensive repairs. Big issue too. People don't take the time to size these things correctly. If it's undersized or oversized, let's talk about undersized. If it's undersized, it'll try to get down to temperatures, but I hear, Glenn, I can't get the temperatures below certain amount when I want it to be. Well, either the issues I talked about, or it's undersized and it just will never work. Now, if it's oversized, you have another problem, especially if the ducting can't match up. If it's oversized, it might achieve that temperature you want very quickly, but most people forget the most important part of air conditioning is the dehumidification process. So if it's not dehumidifying, it's going to feel cold and clammy, kind of like London, England in there. Get the temperature down, but very cold, very clammy, not good. Another big thing I see today too, especially for the past several years, is when you open up that electric bill, that hydro bill, do you ever jump up and down for joy and go, woohoo, that's all it cost? Highly unlikely. Most people I know are very, very upset when they see these old hydro bills, on these hydro bills today, and they just keep rising and rising, regardless of what is being promised out there by the governments of today. Now, how an air conditioner works, really, as I mentioned, kind of what the evaporator coil does, it kind of acts like a sponge, like imagine a kitchen sponge, if you will. It takes the excess humidity and the moisture and kind of condenses it into a sponge, and the outside condenser kind of just squishes it out, if you know what I mean, kind of wrings it out like a sponge would be, or a mop, right? Same kind of thing. So it brings the hot air outside. That's why if you look at the fan on the condenser, it should always feel, if it's working properly, it should always feel much warmer than even on the hottest day outside in summer on there. Now, a lot of times people will talk about SEER rating, which really means seasonal energy efficiency ratio, but to make it the most simplest way I possibly can, it's really like miles per gallon on a car. The higher that number, the more miles per gallon you're going to get, therefore the lower the electrical rates you're going to get. Now, air conditioning comes in 3 different ways, right? We talked about sizing of an air conditioner, and there's a way to do that, and I go around and make sure to measure up the home, the windows, the doors, the insulation, all of that, and do an engineering analysis, so it tells me the exact size where a lot of guys just do, man, I think that's the size you need, right? Tonnages. It's not anything to do with that. You really have to make sure it's set up properly. So sizing it properly, when we do that, it's sized for the hottest possible day in the summer for whatever you live in. So that means roughly about 10% of the time on a conventional air conditioner, it's actually sized correctly. So the other 90% of the time, it's actually oversized for the home, meaning it can achieve the temperature too quick and not give you the ideal comfort. So from there, you can go to a 2-stage unit, which kind of acts like a furnace that I talked about earlier in a different video. It's off, low cool, full cool. So the low cool is kind of days where it's kind of humid outside, not very hot, but just want to get the humidity and the moisture out of the air. Second stage, where it goes down to the full stage, is on really hot summery days, kind of like we had last summer here in the Niagara region. Right? So that's kind of that unit. Then if you really want the ultimate, it's a precision comfort unit where it acts like a gas pedal of a car, gives you the exact amount of refrigerant you need. So it's kind of like Goldilocks and the 3 Bears, right? You know, Goldilocks, this bed just, it's too soft. This bed's too hard. This bed, Baby Bear's bed, was just right, right? So that's kind of what it is when you get to that type of system. And furnaces and air conditioners can have that very precise comfort level, so it gives you exactly what you need. So it's 100% right all the time, lowering your cost to operate and giving you ideal comfort. Now let's kind of take a look at some of the reasons why you would need to do something like this, or you should upgrade or consider upgrading your cooling system, or perhaps your heating system, or both, ASAP. Well, number one is with the hot summer that's projected, and especially after last year, there's a bit of a shortage of supply for air conditioning equipment. I know some companies are already having problems with their coils. So now is the time if you're going to do it. Like my boss always used to say to me, I go, Glenn, when's the cheapest time to buy snow shovels? I go, in July, right? Well, now would be the best time, which is another reason. It's an early season. Take advantage of it before the usual price hikes that can occur during the prime season. And every day you don't go ahead and do it, you're just kind of overpaying your utilities. You're not getting the dehumidification. You're not getting the comfort. It's not dehumidifying. A lot of people have hardwood floors, wooden cabinets. They require moisture. It's a tree, right? They don't know they're dead. It's wood, but it still thinks it's a tree, so it needs that. Beat the rush. Last year we were backlogged by, actually, if you can believe it, 4 weeks. So imagine in the middle of the heat wave last summer, we had to ask people to wait 4 weeks to do that. Now I know what you're thinking, Glenn, somebody like Joe Bob can do it tomorrow, right? It's kind of like a restaurant. There's 2 restaurants. One's got like a 3-4 hour wait. One here, you can walk right in. Which is the reason why that one has the wait. I think I'm going to wait to have the good food as opposed to something that can cause me some serious issues, if you know what I mean. And also, the final one I'll close with is, June 30th is the final day to apply for the IESO or the hydro rebates. We must have this installed. It's going away to a very, very high level, so it won't even be worth talking about for the rebates. So take advantage of this. This is cash that the government gives. Take it. Usually the tax is the debt, so take this cash. So it's kind of a long-winded one, but I hope that explains a lot about the air conditioning season. And if you have any questions or comments, please call me at any time. You've got my numbers right on the site here. Again, number, I'll give it to you. It's 905-208-2522. I'd be glad to come out and give you an idea what it would be to do the things done the right way. I'm not your cheap Charlie of the world, but I believe nobody will do it right for less. So if you want to contact me that way, you can do so. You can contact me by email, or hey, you can at least leave a message here or private message me on my Facebook site. Okay? You guys know how to contact me, so if you need me, please don't be afraid to give me a call. We'll talk to you later, and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Bye for now.